Hello and welcome to a local intelligence series episode. Today we'll be reviewing the research that I've done in my hometown, Wrocław. Let's get started. Here's the map. So as you can see, there's lots to go through. This map shows a way of thinking about approaching a city in order to gather intelligence in it. So I've done this map of some overall thoughts and directions about how to approach during reconnaissance, basically, in a city as a civilian. So I'm excited about this episode because it's a lot of work and it's actually a lot of fun. And you get to know the place that you live in, hopefully, a little better. And it can show you the way, and it can show a person their place in society. And I feel better having done this. And it's related to my professional refinement work, and especially in the domain of security and information security and cybersecurity and web application security. And so I have a plan of things to talk about, and even some articles and a few online examples of websites. Basically, we're following the money in this city, my hometown, Wrocław. So back to the map for those tuned in visually, but I'll be speaking about what it is here. So this map shows a top-down kind of approach in looking at a city. And so, well, looking at my particular hometown. So at the top, well, I have to start in a slightly metaphysical way because we have to go into the abstract. We're in security, and so we have to consider things that ordinarily aren't considered necessarily. So we do have, beyond everything, it is reality itself. Of metaphysical nature, cosmic laws. So what physics knows and doesn't know, the unknown, right? But we get into things like the physical aspect of the world and the elements. So we're talking about water, air, earth, fire, and so on. And we have geography below that. So I'm moving from top down into how the city works. Now, I'm not going to read all this, but so you can look at the map, and I'll be actually using this map and making it better, ameliorating it over time, and have iterations. So there's quite a bit on the map. Let's continue. So then we have geography, basically the land on the planet and the waters, right? And then somewhere on the side here we have time passing, right? There's below geography we have ecology, and we have nature, such as actual water and earth. Perhaps the elements above are actually the molecular structure of things, and down to the atoms and the quantum field. So so below time we have the history of these things. So we have evolution there. I guess if you believe in those aspects, and I do. There's signs of it. Biological life. And then, in biological life, there you have humanity, right? There, you could say you have races and places, cultures, and humanity has spirituality, or the extent to which a person allows themselves to experience, right? And then these cultures, cultural elements, they bring together ethnicities. So in my particular case, the race is white, Caucasian. Ethnicity would be, the culture is European and Slavic. The actual ethnicity is more towards Western Slavic. In my case, because I'm investigating where I'm at on the planet and who I am. So, and everyone has their own here. Not everyone, but you go from individual, spiritual, direct, personal experience, and then you can be a part of cultures, and so on. And this is important because we're going to dive into what a security culture might be, for example, within, and then so the next you have a nation such as Poland, and national identity, You do have civilizations like the modern Western, for example, European/North American civilization. And then in those, you could say you have societies. So within a nation, you have the area of the southern Silesia here in Poland, and then within that, so under nations, you have constitutions. So ideas and groupings of concepts and from human experience, laws, how to live. And so you have, for example, the society of the urban middle class and intelligentsia working towards upkeeping and maintaining and treasuring life in a particular area, in a city perhaps now. So Wrocław is the capital of Lower Silesia here in Poland here. So, right, and then so then you have Rzeczpospolita Polska. You have the federal, provincial, perhaps, and the municipal. I'm just taking this from Canada, another nation, levels. And then you begin having types of authority here. Ustawodawcza, wykonawcza, sądownicza in Poland. And then we get into, so what do these entities give us perhaps? Well, they can give us open data on Wrocław, and I'll show, I guess I could just show something on screen for a moment there. Switch over. I'm just going to show the open data example here, but we're going to get back to it. So I'm showing on screen open data, for example, for the transport in Wrocław. So you have all these categories: liczba pojazdów poruszających się po Wrocławiu, lista rowerów, and so on. And this now I'm taking from open data from my city. That's just it's just one aspect of how things are organized in terms of reconnaissance here. Now back to the map for a second again. So I'm just showing. I'm not going to go into the major details right now, but let's just say going down there continually, you have, for example, zielone inwestycje we Wrocławiu, miejska, miasto spotkań i odpoczynku. So the motto of the city of Wrocław is Miasto Spotkań. It's the meeting place for Wrocław. That's what it's called. That's the worded motto. And so, you can start tracing, so how much of the city's budget and money and infrastructure is going towards making it a happy, healthy place, a thriving place for people to come and meet based on the motto. There's a reason why that motto exists, I would hope. So that's, the things I investigate there. And, right. And so there's what's called a budżet obywatelski, which is citizens or civilian budget or civic budget, that is offered through channels that I'm investigating that goes into the city and is, by the different commissions, offices, and what's the Rada Miejska? Radni mieszkańców. So it's like those people in the government that help the public sector. Yeah, I'm not a translator officially. And then so there's a city budget since 2019 that's very interesting, and it offers a lot of expansion in the infrastructure in the city. And what I've noticed, so this is now the stuff that we're going to be talking about. I'll be investigating, because this starts to begin telling me personally how to start getting involved in the city, especially in cybersecurity. Now, what I've noticed, for example, in this direction is that a lot of the budget, if not, actually, I haven't noticed anything outside of the budget going towards anything but physical infrastructure. I have not seen any listing in that citizens budget, and I'm calling it, go towards anything virtual. So the culture here is about growing the physical appearance-wise, physical builder's reality, right? For civilian happiness and spending. Okay. Now, so on the side here, what do I have here? Right. So I'm starting to question here on the map. You see how outside of the virtual here, I'm just like, so all these businesses and all the infrastructure and all that makes even Poland here is online. Everything has a website. So who's securing that? What's securing that? That's just a question. And somewhere in there we have Bitcoin, and somewhere in there we have the reconnaissance, web application security testing, first phase, for example, of vulnerability assessment. Right. So what's interesting here is that on the side here, I'm showing, so the security dimensions and their layers, security dimensions of, it's going to move that the camera over a little bit here, of those who take care of those aspects in society here. So we have somewhere up here, the secret layer takes care of how time is spread in civilization. There's actual, for example, technologically, there's time servers. Spiritually, there's those who scientifically and metaphysically explain what time is and keep time, or, astronomers and so on, but also astrologers and certain others. That is what I call a secret layer. It's more of like unknown, almost things to do with prime numbers and infinity and questions about the source and nature of the universe there. So below that, somewhere below, there's a dotted line here. We have the United Nations and perhaps even their Security Council in the Western civilized world, part of the planet. And then below that you have the European aspect of collaboration on how things work in society. Then you have, so there's a blue line here for just above the military here, and that's to do with every nation, and every nation secures their own economic infrastructure, for example, with the military, and that's important. And this is where important people, I have in quotations, start, because somewhere below are ordinary civilians, less important people, according to the news and so on. And so somewhere below the military, eventually you have the police, and they're more and judges and the law, and they maintain the rules of a given area, for example, right? And below that is civilians, and then so I'm looking, for example, for vocational engagement. And so, I don't have secret clearance or top secret or United Nations kind of, relations or experience. So I'm not going to be looking for work there, but there are people working there in information security, all the way up to the secret level there. So I have to know my place in society. So I'm civilian. So maybe a detective. I've seen advertisements for and work for detectives here in the city. So in the city, what kind of structures do we have? Well, we have, economically, so to exchange my services, for example, for economic energy, which is just called work or a job. So we have the business layer, the professional layer, and the specialist layer. We're specialists with the web application security testing, but you can be working for the public, good city, working for the city, or at these different levels, like municipal, provincial, and federal in many places. You can have be working for an NGO or have your own, or you can have your own private business, right? And then being a professional is a whole other aspect of that, a little deeper, and then specialist goes deeper. So, but you see how under this green box here, there's different areas and different ways of working in security. And what I'm finding is that because the infrastructure of the Wrocław, my hometown Wrocław, is being taken by a budget, and it's mostly concerned with physical aspects of it, that all the actual cybersecurity is being taken care of by police level and military level personnel. There are, of course, positions in, most of the ones you can find on job boards are businesses. There are also positions in the city. But for example, for me to work in the city, I need to be very, very fluent with the Polish language. That's a deep part of the culture here. So I have to know that. And I have to be able to speak technically about things and have certain experience. Polish people and their IT culture are very, very strong. Much stronger than, for example, in Canada, that I've noted in Canada by the average person who's studying there. It's a different story with immigrants who come in with their 20 years of experience in other nations. Okay, but that's a whole other story. So I'm going to leave this map for now, and there's a few things I want to show and talk about. I'm going to move into the image of myself here for a moment. So and I'm reading off a sheet here. So show latest map. Yeah, right. So okay, I can show you some categories of my online investigations. So I'm going to go to the article back here and show you that in my intelligence gathering, right in the bookmarks I'm showing here, local intelligence, Wrocław research, we have the money system category. We have primary businesses, ecology, and what stuff I'm finding, and some top Poland bookmarks just to start. So in the money system, the top ones in Wrocław are all about like the city monetary infrastructure. I'm not going to load these right now, but the next heading here is that civic budget that I was talking about. That's actually quite fascinating. I'll load one of these links right now. So it shows you for 2024 the locations of proposed infrastructure projects by citizens. So so this is a very interesting approach that the city has, and it has a budget for these on a yearly basis. So people submit what they want done in the city, and then you vote on it. Okay, and then these are the categories, for example, like road ideas, places, play structures for kids, sporting structures, and so on. Right, or like even green initiatives, right? And then their locations. And let's see if we click on one of these. Yeah, it tells you what exactly it is. And then if you want to see it, I guess you go there, right? And it's all about that particular proposal and its exact location. And I believe they're working on it because it's this year's, but it's been around, right? And then so the budget is 1 million zlotys, so that's about $300,000 for this particular project. So that's important, but I'm just, so this is all about just these bookmarks here that I have, right? And then it continues, and I'm interested in the NGO section, so I'll be continuing this in my next iterations. And the point is to see how I fit in and where I can offer my services in cybersecurity, because, for example, I believe that certain projects, such as green initiatives, should be supported also technologically in cyberspace. For various reasons that we'll be talking about. I mean, it first of all, it just makes me feel good to be alive, to support something that supports life on Earth. Very simple stuff. Okay, so in my research about the city, though, the primary businesses here are, I'm talking about like the deep actual, so what does civilization need? Well, we need energy. So these are all the companies here that are the energy distributors. Now, what I'm going to be researching is where this energy comes from and who's actually responsible and who's held accountable for these energy sources. Same with telecommunications, the banks, and the fuel. This is more like a car, automobile fuel. And the groceries, the hierarchy from small to large, like from quickies and corner stores to the largest grocery stores in town. So I believe that these are the main primary business structures that enable people to just live normal lives. I'll be adding and taking away some things there. And then from the ecology, I'm just interested in the river. This is a city on a river with hundreds of bridges. So the quality of the water and the air quality, and I believe the electromagnetic fields I'll be adding to as a thing to study there. So you see, these are just bookmarks where I'm gathering some intelligence and putting it together and constructing maps from these in other parts of work. So, right. So let me show you 2 articles from newspaper now. So I want to show you that Wrocław was chosen as, hold on, here we go, as, it was ranked actually higher than Zurich, very high, as part of the European cities and regions of the future. Economically, or market-wise, financially, and business-wise, right? Higher than Zurich, so it was ranked pretty high in the city, from the size of 200,000 to 750,000 people. All right, so that's one article I wanted to show. Another article is that it ranked in the top 100 and best in places to live in Poland. Here's that article. Right, that's another thing, but also it's actually one of the 100 top cities on the planet, according to Oxford Economics as well, and so on. Now, So I've been researching a lot about the paper, about the city from various local papers, national papers, and online, of course, editions of various sorts, and just by participating in the culture here. So let me explain that. So I also work in a way that gets me around everywhere in the city on almost a daily basis. So I do a kind of passive recon of physical reality and of civilians in the city. Hold on. Just naturally in my other part-time work that supports this development and my work search, actually. So that is another way that I investigate the city. I'm just looking at my sheet here. And so I have attended cultural events and spent time in like natural time, not as a tourist, actually, because I live here, like in cafes, at the opera, at the restaurants, the techno dance club, and so on. And just walking around enjoying, and spent time relaxing in parks and on benches. It's not the first time I'm here. It's not the first time I'm doing this, but perhaps I do it more observantly these days. And even deeper than that is the Polish language itself, for example. So I'm actually observing how it's changing because of the influx at this time, 2024, of the Ukrainian population, for example, and of everyone having access to the English version of things through their smartphones. And that's important for the cultural study here, and the meta language of security. So, for example, at many larger grocery stores, we have English songs playing, but when I use the application called Shazam to search and query these songs, some of them have been queried 10 times, and they're unknown artists, but they're singing in English as if they're superstars, and as if and strangely the lyrics and the language used in some of these songs, I've noticed, and this will be a deeper study at some point for another episode, but they're almost kindergarten level love songs that the adult person who's buying groceries for their family is somewhat forced to listen to and to apparently feel good doing so while buying their daily things. Now, that is a concern for me for various reasons that might not be that obvious. So I'm curious about the source of money the city has for operations, like I've shown, and apparently Wrocław ranks high as a city of the future, but it is losing money. Let me show you. Right, this another article. Right, in paper form, and then I'll show it in online. So this same article is online in a moment. Wrocław stracił ponad miliard złotych, and this is right. So I've circled elements here, and I'm looking them up online to see what's going to be happening with this. Miliard złotych I've calculated here, so 1.2 billion Polish zloty is 311 million US dollars a loss, I believe, this year, and they're looking into it. So that is a concern in some way. Let's see what that means. I have a few more calculations, and then we'll be nearing the final comments, perhaps. So if I switch to the article online here, so this is that article online, right? And there it is. I'm just showing that the same information can be had in various ways. I mean, you can feed this to your AI bot to gather more intel, but so from another such, let's see. Meanwhile, I can show you that the other article about Wrocław being a winner of the important ranking is also online, and you see here how it ranks higher than Vilnius, Lithuania, and Zurich, Switzerland, and Riga, Latvia, and so on, regarding human capital and lifestyle in this section, for example. Yeah, so we'll leave that for a moment and go back to another printed article, and this one is it's a bigger one. Maybe I'll show it in a different way, showing me on screen. So the article is this big. Okay. And well, yeah, so it's like a full spread on newspaper, and then it has graphics and then amounts spent on projects, and then a list of categorized projects. And so what I wanted to share is an example of a few examples, and then it goes to the main point, and then we'll end on that. So the few examples, let me just make sure. Yeah. So from the March 2024 bulletin from the office of the city council, I believe. So my questions are from this list. Right. Maybe I'll just put this here in front of you. Bring back the map. There we go. So you can just see it. And there's an arrow pointing to something I'll discuss in a moment. And how is it that it costs about $75,000 to paint a crossing, an intersection crossing for pedestrians? That's how much that costs. I'll state why I'm questioning this in a moment. Now, okay, so here's the main question, and this is why there's an arrow here pointing to something. The arrow points to 5.5 thousand Polish zloty, which is about $1,500 to purchase and install a garbage bin in a park. Okay, so $1,500 to install a garbage bin in a park. Now, just to let you know, I have a part-time job where I make less. So my time per month. So, well, it supports a general basic minimal way of life temporarily as I work towards vocational engagement through local intelligence and professional refinement. But if I make $1,000 a month working part-time, let's say that is actually 30 hours a week. So I compare myself I'm doing this. I'm comparing my economic energy and my worth in this life, in this particular culture, in this city. So it's like this. So my life, apparently 30 hours a week, is not even as much as one installation of a garbage bin in a public park in Wrocław. It's less. It's like 2/3. So so basically you get either me working was 4 weeks times 30 hours, right? 120 hours a month. So that is my life, my time and freedom. You either get my time and freedom for 120 hours this month, or you get one garbage bin in a park. What would you rather have? Yeah. What would I rather have? And can't I figure out a way to install a garbage bin and propose it for $100 and use my time then and freedom? So then if I figure that out, should they pay me? So in other words, I need to install one garbage bin in a park at any point this month, and then I don't have to work 120 hours. So in other words, I have 120 hours this month to figure out how to install a garbage bin in a park for under $1,500. And then I get the rest. So if I figure it out how to do it with $50 worth in Polish zloty, I get the rest. I get $1,450 back. Apparently I should, right? So and since the city is losing money, I should therefore help them make money. And since they're making so many parks, right, they need garbage bins in those parks. So like, right. So this is real. So in my online here browser bookmarks, in the money system for Wrocław, right? So I'm loading now the 10 bookmarks about the budget here. So basically, right, this is the list of those projects, but there's also, they have lists of, what do you call, procurement and, what's the other word with a T? Tenders, or, right? Like, in another section, hold on, where is it? It would be przetargi, right? Right. So they basically, this is just an example, but you have to log in sometimes, and I'm not going to do that right now. So when the city needs something, it offers the offer, right? Whatever it's called, because I don't know, I was never taught this, and so I'm doing the recon. And so if they were to need the garbage bins in parks, or the equivalent, or like the whole infrastructure for a park, or a park itself, well, apparently they just publish like that they need this, and here's the budget, and if you can do it. So basically, if you can gather the men and women in a team and prove a track record and business structure that you can do it, well, they'll offer you the few million to go do it. So it's like, okay, why isn't everyone taught this? I mean, like civilians should understand that they can literally, like, all you need like is life skills to do this. Like I've been like 25 years at looking for jobs, and like this is nuts. This shouldn't be just like business people interested in business knowing how this works. This is like anyone can do this. Almost anyone. So anyway, continuing with just some insights here from the article again. So I'm just going to read off in front of me here. So, or maybe I made my point already. Yeah, I kind of made my point with the garbage bin there, but a few other things from that article is that, example, it costs, right? So in terms of security, it costs for one monitoring station, like I believe a camera on a light post, I think, or something. Apparently, they've been spending $30,000 for one such camera monitoring system in the city. That's how much it costs. Right, the city has about $13 million, and I'm always just working the exchange. I pre-researched it to say this in US dollars. $13 million is the total for the yearly civilian budget that I was showing there, and the city also has $40 million for yearly budget for NGOs, współpraca miasta z organizacjami pozarządowymi. Okay, right. And I'll end this in a moment, this episode, with the following observation and thought from my little note here. I'm curious about creating an NGO for civilian web application security testing of cultural thriving. So all those NGOs or projects or builders of society here in town who support those parts of life that are in even the secret layer, or those parts of life that apparently, like the United Nations or European councils or the national military or the police take care of up to this point, because we're coming at a time where it's up to the people to start taking care of things, because there's a major increase in problems. So anything can be attacked through technology and computing devices, through computation, and then influence the physical reality. And so, as we have here on my map, what I'm talking about is right here. I'm talking about building an NGO. Oh, what happened there? Oh, I just moved screen for a sec. Hold on. What the... okay. Where am I here? I'm showing the right thing. Oh, I'm showing the right thing. It's just something else happened. Okay, so I'm talking about taking responsibility for the things that these entities working in these layers are taking care of here. So an NGO that takes care of the geography, the ecology, and the biological life here in Wrocław. Like, that should not be, since, for example, the United Nations Security Council has apparently no effect on the current wars system, and the nations and the national militaries do whatever they want for their own reasons that might be legitimate, but at the cost and expense of ecological thriving. So perhaps the rapid advancement of technology and profiteering, because stakeholders and investors in businesses need to see profits, or else they'll sue the businesses. The businesses need to increase their competition, and they're doing so at an alarming rate. And it's forcing things like in this city, the poisoning of the river Odra, which happened 2 years ago, and all the fish and organisms died, and somehow it's not being talked about today. So an NGO that supports businesses and organizations and entities and individuals who have online presence and are working towards ecological thriving. So I would be interested in supporting them online so that they're not attacked through various attack vectors, and to help them build their threat models, for example, and be a risk advisor there in that direction. Right, and the final note is that is perhaps a solution in my rough draft and first iteration of this local intelligence series episode is it's how to save the city from foreign monopolistic technocracies. And I mean, this isn't me with some conspiracy theories rambling about personal ideas that are wishy-washy and hippie. This is like, I believe it's my duty and responsibility to help people understand in society the threat model, and to inspire them, rather, not to persuade, not to force anyone into trying to understand technological things that they're not interested in. But there is a threshold of time we have, and time is also the perception of time is being manipulated. That's in the secret layer. I'll return one final time to the map here. So secret layer has the dimension of time that is that those in that layer. So technologically, it's people who take care of the time servers, the time protocol. Oh my gosh, NTP. What does the N stand for? For some reason, I forgot temporarily. Okay, anyways. But there are those working in international layers. So, for example, the constant bombardment of information and attention-taking and consumptive modeling of media is something that takes time from people. And time is a part of the formula for one's economic energy. The time and freedom is what you exchange for economic energy in society by having vocational engagement, having a job, for example, or a responsibility that you're paid for. And so on the final note, because this is a Bitcoin security podcast, Bitcoin security maps podcast, the final line I have here on my piece of paper in front of me that I'm reading is, maybe making Bitcoin nodes for those cultural places which are most valuable to form an unstoppable exchange network is the solution. In general, that's just an idea. We'll look into it more. So, thanks for tuning in. I hope this episode clarified what local intelligence gathering means on the civilian side. And if you enjoy this podcast, you can offer support over the NOSTR clients that we're on, or bitcoinsecuritymaps.com, and or your podcast listening clients such as Fountain FM, the app on your smartphone. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at the meetups.